Picture a lazy Sunday afternoon. You are swiping through YouTube or TikTok, and you spot one of those videos. How I made $1 million in 18 months, or turned 1,000 bucks into 1 million with this easy trick. And for a moment, you think, wait, am I missing out on something? Because you work really hard, you earn a good paycheck. But when you check your bank balance, it definitely does not look like millionaire progress. So naturally, you start wondering, is getting wealthy actually doable? Or is everybody online just faking it? Look, here's the truth. Most money advice on the internet falls into two crazy extremes. On one side, you have the get-rich-quick guys pushing crypto secrets, day trading tricks, and dropshipping hacks. And on the other side, you have the painfully slow advice. Just save your money for 40 years, and maybe you will be okay when you turn 65. Neither of those answers feels very good. But here is what most people never figure out. Building real wealth does not take 40 years, and it definitely does not happen in 6 months, but 5 years. 5 years is actually enough time to completely change your financial life if you focus on the exact right things. I am going to show you the completely realistic path to building serious financial momentum over the next 5 years. Not the flashy internet version, the version that actually works. Let's uncover the very first step right now. Okay, let's start with a slightly harsh reality. Wealth is not built through saving alone. Now, you might be thinking, hold on, isn't saving the whole goal? Well, yes and no. Keeping cash in the bank is important, but relying only on savings is like trying to fill a swimming pool using a teaspoon. Here's what I mean. Let's say someone saves $300 per month. That is actually better than the majority. According to the latest Federal Reserve data, about 37% of adults could not cover a $400 emergency with cash or its equivalent. So, saving $300 a month is a solid start. But let's look at the math. $300 a month equals $3,600 a year. Over 5 years, that is $18,000. Even if you invested that money and earned an 8% annual return, you would end up with roughly $21,000 to $22,000. That is good, but it is not life-changing. And this is where it gets really interesting, because the biggest driver of wealth in the first 5 years is not investing. It is income growth. Early in your financial journey, your most powerful asset isn't your savings account. It is your earning ability. Think of your income like the engine of a car. If your engine is small, no amount of clever steering will make the car go fast. You need more horsepower. And the same is true with money. If you increase your income, everything else becomes easier. Saving becomes easier. Investing becomes easier. Debt disappears faster. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine two people. Person A earns $3,000 per month and saves 10%. That is $300 per month. Person B spends the first 2 years improving their skills, negotiating raises, or building a side income. Their income increases to $5,000 per month. Now they save the same 10%. That is $500 per month. That difference alone adds up to an extra $12,000 in savings over 5 years. And if that gap grows even larger, the difference becomes massive, which leads to the first step in building wealth in 5 years. Step 1, increase your income. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, Henry, if it were that easy, everyone would do it. Look, I get it. Income growth does not happen overnight. But most people underestimate how much their income can grow in 5 years. 5 years is enough time to learn a valuable skill, change careers, or negotiate multiple raises. In fact, the latest Atlanta Fed wage growth tracker shows that job switchers consistently outpace those who stay, seeing wage growth around 4.3% year over year. Do that twice in a 5-year window, and your total pay could look completely different. But income alone is not enough, because here is the second massive trap people walk right into. Lifestyle creep. You get a salary bump, and suddenly, your living standard demands an upgrade. A nicer apartment, a better vehicle, more expensive habits. Before you know it, your income has grown, but your bank balance stays exactly the same. This is one of the most silent wealth killers in existence. There is a behavioral concept for this called Parkinson's law of money. It means your expenses will automatically expand to match your new income. Your brain convinces you that because you work hard, you deserve the reward. But that thrill fades in about 3 months, leaving you chasing the next upgrade, which is why step 2 is absolutely critical. Lock in your wealth gap. Here is a rule that works flawlessly. Every time your income increases, immediately capture 50% of the raise. If you negotiate a $1,000 monthly bump, $500 gets automatically routed to your investments. You are completely free to enjoy the rest. This single habit prevents lifestyle inflation from quietly stealing your financial progress. But once you secure those savings, that capital needs a job. Which brings us to the third step. Step 3 is deploying your capital. Now, this is where many beginners make a massive mistake. They assume investing means finding the next tech giant or timing the crypto market. But the most reliable wealth-building machine in history is actually incredibly boring. Historically, the most effective tool for long-term growth has been broad market index funds. The S&P 500, for example, has delivered a historical average return of roughly 10% annually over the last century. Markets will naturally fluctuate in the short term, but over long periods, consistent investing removes the guesswork entirely. Let's look at a realistic 5-year example. Suppose you aggressively increase your income, control your lifestyle creep, and automatically invest $800 a month. Over 5 years, you contribute $48,000. With moderate market growth, that portfolio reaches roughly $58,000 to $60,000. But here's the secret most people completely miss. The real magic is not the final number. It is the compounding momentum you just unlocked. Once you reach that baseline, your capital starts generating its own income, and your financial growth in the next 5 years accelerates dramatically. And if you think this is just theoretical math, let me show you what this actually looks like in the real world. I used to work with a guy who drove a 7-year-old car while everyone else at the office was constantly upgrading their lifestyle. He was not making tech CEO money. He just silently followed a very specific system. For 5 years, he focused entirely on 3 things: aggressively increasing his income, fiercely defending against lifestyle inflation, and investing consistently into broad market funds. Nothing flashy, no risky trades, just execution. 5 years later, while most of our peers were still stressed about their monthly bills, he had built a massive financial runway. That is the power of quiet wealth. It is not about showing off today. It is about securing your tomorrow. Which brings us to the exact framework you need to execute starting tomorrow morning. If you want to completely overhaul your financial reality in the next 60 months, these are your 3 non-negotiable execution protocols. Protocol 1. Attack your income ceiling. Your earning ability is your most powerful wealth-building tool. Protocol 2. Defend against lifestyle creep. Save and invest at least 50% of every single raise or bonus you get. Protocol 3. Automate your investments. Put your capital into long-term assets like index funds and let compounding do the heavy lifting. This is how you create a permanent wealth gap between you and everyone else who is still searching for a magic shortcut. Because here is the one truth nobody likes to admit about time. The year 2031 is going to arrive, whether you are financially prepared for it or not. The only question is what your financial reality will look like when it gets here. Will you still feel stuck? Or will you have built the kind of compounding momentum that changes everything? Because the difference between staying broke and building wealth is simply choosing a better strategy and having the patience to let it work. You can either spend the next 5 years watching other people build wealth, or you can start building your own. If this changed how you view your financial trajectory, hit subscribe. And I am curious about something. What is the biggest financial habit you are changing tomorrow morning? Let me know in the comments, because your future starts with the decisions you make today.